we shall start. Again, Lunch and Learn, we focus on one poem that's related to spring, 春天, and in conjunction with our current exhibition on birds and flowers. And we are inviting our guest artist, Miss Sang-Suk Satin, back later around 12:30 to have a brush painting demo. You are welcome to follow or just observe. So today we are, always at the beginning, the first Friday of each month until May. So this is the second to the last Lunch and Learn for this season. We are planning on-site program, the China Institute Literati Salon on June 9th. That's a program for the third time we are doing on-site at China Institute as an extension of Lunch and Learn, inviting participants to read aloud several poems that we have learned this season. We also invite calligrapher, artist on site so we can write together as well as music. So we have all the elements, the cultural elements together for the Literati Salon. And this time also very special since our exhibition on birds and flowers will still be on view. This is an opportunity to show the exhibition. We will have a session next month in May at our online Lunch and Learn to go through some of the masterpieces as well. But if you are in New York, welcome to come to China Institute, meet in person, and have some wonderful experience of Chinese culture together.
Do we have to register?
Yes. So for that one, we will get the registration up on the website when it's ready. Yuanchong and I, we were at the planning stage, but I want to share with this group today so that, you know, this is something upcoming. 好的, Yuanchong, 下一页. So today we are reading 惠崇春江晚景. There are together two poems. For this, we're only reading one of them. 惠崇春江晚景二首. This is 其一, one of them. 作者 or 诗人是苏轼. So this is not the first time we read a poem by Sū Shì. 大家还记得吗？比较早了，苏轼的，我们读过他的一首。We read one of his 词 not the 唐诗 style, but the 词 in Song Dynasty. Sū Shì is one of the most influential poets or literary figures in China's history. He's best known for his 词 poems. Unlike 唐诗, 词 has irregular characters for different lines, depending on the style, the form, and the tune, particularly. We, in fact, have learned one back in 2020. That's when this Lunch and Learn first started, the first season, and it's a 水调歌头. If Lin Lao Shi later can find the link from our website, please post in the chat box so we can get when you have time, you can get a review. 水调歌头, song for the river tune. And it's for the moon, the fall season. Today, we are focusing on the spring. So like many acclaimed cultural figure, Sū Shi's talent was not well suited for his political career. Lin Lao Shi, could you show the next one? This is a calligraphy by Sū Shì, one of the most famous one, 寒食帖, cold food observance. in addition to be a famous writer, poet, his calligraphy, in fact, is one of the most known in China's calligraphy history as well. And his style is called a Sū style. So this one is a reflection of many experience as well. We shared a lot of Chinese poets. They are not professional poet. They are in fact pursuing their career path in the imperial court, but many of them were not that successful. And Sū Shì shared that kind of experience during the Northern Song court of his time. That's in early 11th, mid 11th to early 12th century. Sū Shì was against a major political reform at the time and was consequently pushed aside, expelled to various regions in the country. This calligraphy, in fact, was written when he was sent to a region that's quite in poverty and a harsh environment. This calligraphy is in fact talking about the 3 years he's lived in that region, Guangzhou, how tough the environment, the food, the weather, the living condition, that's all reflected in this calligraphy. So, but what's interesting is in recent years, Sū Shì is very much picked up by the popular culture in China, perhaps because of the humor, strength, and the perseverance his poems expressed, which is much needed for a time of today. And the fact that he is a foodie, if you recall from 2020, we in fact invited a chef to our lunch and learn, talking about Sū Shì as a foodie in China, with some of his poems as evidence to show that he is a foodie. And we will see whether today's poem you feel that way. And that may also add to his character, which is embraced by people of various ages and generations. Can we show next one, please? 下一页。好，这是今天的惠崇春江晚景2首其一。The translation is by Xu Yuanchong. We have used his translation many times. I would invite you again to look both Chinese and English version to get the meaning across. It's a simple poem for the spring, but you may feel his character in this scene that he described. A heptasyllabic quatrain, 4 lines. It's in fact not that strict in terms of pairing up the part of the speech, the meaning and everything. It's more, to me, it feels more fluid in terms of meaning. And when we read it, you can hear or feel the rhyming of it as well. But it's more of a ballad style, a very short ballad. We still call this a quatrain, but if you look at the part of speech, it's in fact more of a fluid ballad kind of rhythm there. So again, I will read the poem, the entire poem now, and then we can get into character by character, line by line next. If you want, please feel free to read together with me. 惠崇春江晚景2首其一。竹外桃花3两枝，春江水暖鸭先知。
春
春
江
江水暖
暖
鸭先知。
先知，
蒌蒿满地芦芽短，
蒌蒿
蒌蒿满地芦芽短，
短，
正是河豚欲上时。
正是
正是
河
河豚
欲上
去直。
时。
很好。So just very briefly, when you look at the translation, river sings on a spring evening, it does not really translate 惠崇。你们知道惠崇是什么意思吗？ Anybody knows?
我知道贤惠和崇拜这个词汇，但是惠崇我不太知道，我可以猜是尊重的意思，是吗？
谢谢小安。Yeah, anybody else?
是个人名。
是个人名啊，谢谢妙莲。Yeah, so 小安 you're right. 惠 and 崇, when look at the characters separately, that's what they mean. But together, here it's 这是一个人名. It's a person's name.
我喜欢这个人名，我觉得是个很好的名字。
很好. So the poem is written for as either as a gift and or it's a tradition between the literatis at the time that they will exchange poems or paintings as a gift or to address certain people so that the poem itself has a purpose or has a object for. Hui Chong is or was a monk poet at the time. In fact, his name appeared in not only in Sū Shì's poem, but other poets' work as well. He himself is a painter, a poet. I found one painting by Hui Chong. Lin Lao Shi, could you show next page? This is a painting that attributed to Hui Chong 在辽宁省博物馆. It's the Liaoning Provincial Museum. It's not a big piece. It's only 24 centimeters by 25 centimeters. That's the form Hui Chong was known for. And you can see the calligraphy by Hui Chong. It's both the paintings and the calligraphy that's combined together. We can get a sense of the artist, the poet himself here. Now, next, let's dive into the poem character by character. So again, I will read twice. I would suggest we can mute your speaker so we can repeat to ourselves. And then I will read the entire line for the second time. 竹 外 桃 花 三 两 枝 竹外桃花三两枝 下一页 春 江 水 暖 鸭 先 知 春江水暖鸭先知 Again here, 水 and 暖 both third tone. So in fact, you have to change 水 to second tone. 春江水暖鸭先知。下一页。楼蒿满地芦芽短。蒌蒿满地芦芽短。下一页。正是河豚玉上石。正是河豚玉上石。That's the entire poem. 好的，这就是惠崇春江晚景。我看到 Mandarin 问的问题，这个字是不是惠崇的字 ？I think whether the calligraphy was 惠崇's calligraphy. My impression is it is. I have to double check. When I was looking into I think it is, because
我怕是清朝人写的，可能是有这么多皇帝的印章，会不会是乾隆大笔？是以外的事情，对不起，我不必提到。
Well, it's actually a good. We can just take a brief moment looking at this. It was, you can see the 3 stamps in the middle. At least 2 of them, or all of them, were by an emperor in Qing Dynasty. That was, I believe, 18th century. So that's the collector of this piece. That means, well, you can trace back the history, who has collected this piece, and it was among one of the emperor's favorite. Sometimes the emperor himself or some other collectors, when you look at a Chinese painting, you can see, in addition to the painting, you have like different calligraphies and styles, different seals, and those are in fact added later by the collectors. It's a tradition. Some may wonder, does this destroy the original piece of art? But it's in fact a Chinese tradition. Some would argue, especially the Emperor Qianlong is known to put his stamp all over major pieces and add his own writing. But I think this one, it seems to be like when I was looking at the description of this, it seems to be Huichong's, but we have to double check. Yeah. 好的, if we go to, oh my God, we are already running out of time because I want to give enough time for Sang-suk to go over the brush painting. Let's read the poem together, the entire poem, one more time. 惠崇春江晚景2首。其一，竹外桃花3两枝。
竹外桃花
3两枝。
春江水暖鸭先知。
春江水暖鸭先知。
蒌蒿满地芦芽短。
蒌蒿满地芦芽短。
正是河豚欲上时。
正
是
式
非等欲上学。
Do you feel there's a little bit related to his being Sū Shì being the foodie here?
Pigeons, ducks.
Yeah, well, there's fish, there's something like asparagus, there's duck. And also it's the springtime. When I look at this poem, I feel like, yeah, that this is evidence, if not that directly talking about food, but there are elements that's quite edible. But be careful of Hetun. Now it's banned in China, but people still trying to get Hetun. That could be, if not treated correctly, could be quite poisonous.
Yeah.
So next, Lin Lao Shi. A little bit challenge without pinyin. Lin Lao Shi, do you want to just lead one more time with the group?
Yeah, 好啊，可以。好，我们来一起读惠崇春江晚景。
惠崇春江晚景
二首。其一。竹外桃花三两枝。
竹外桃花三两枝。
春江水暖鸭先知。
水暖鸭先知。
蒌蒿满地芦芽短。
蒌蒿满地芦芽短。
正是河豚欲上时。
正是河豚欲上时。
不错啊，很好。
谢谢。So quickly, before we turn to Sansuk, I have this picture from our current exhibition. It's an album, a 10-leaf album, very small. That's on one part of the wall in the gallery. It's by a Qing Dynasty artist, Bian Shouming. Next page. 下一页. And as you can see, some of the geese reminds me of the poem that we just read. And also as a segue, that we will invite Sansuk. Sansuk?
Yes, okay.
Hi. Yeah, it's thank you so much for joining us again for today's Lunch and Learn. And all of you, or some of you, would have known from last session, Sansuk Saturn, a Korean American artist and a calligrapher. We had a wonderful session working on the camellia last time. So this time, as well, we are continuing the birds and flowers theme. I think Sansuk will bring some of the birds brush painting today, right?
I'll try. Okay.
Yeah, so I will turn the screen to you and hope everyone will enjoy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, we have very limited time, so I'm trying. I personally find I've been painting, brush painting kind of on and off last 4 decades, but bird painting, when it comes to the bird painting, I find it, bird and animal is, you know, it's one of the hardest one. the other things like landscapes are a little more freer and you can turn it something else. But bird is very often when I paint bird and I don't like it, I turn to a rock. And then, so in my certain landscape painting, there's tons of rocks because that's my kind of trying to practice and then turn it something else. But anyhow, so that's, so regarding bird painting, there's obviously so many styles, but however, I thought was maybe sparrow is most, you know, the widespread bird, and this is the good beginning to bird painting study. So if you want to study, obviously, I'm not really bird expert, but that's why maybe it's so hard. You see, you really need to study the basic structure of the, so that takes time, it's to get used to it, the beak part and an eye, and you need to be familiar with that. So so this is so gives you some idea. And then the sparrow alone, you can see this one. This is the male sparrow and this is the female sparrow. As you can see, but the male ones are more colorful, a little more. This one, maybe you can see better. Yeah, it's a little more stronger color. And this is the female version here. So it's a little bit paler. And this is, the baby ones, younger one, okay? So baby sparrow looks like that. It's paler, obviously smaller. So you have to get used to this kind of basics. And then you also have to get used to it, what kind of position this birds you are painting, so you have to study, there's a lot of details. These are some of the sparrows. I saw it from the exhibition. Look at how detailed, but the characters, because it's a live personality, so you really takes a long time, the position and all that. So this is what I saw in that show, the current show. Yeah. So, and then obviously over time you develop your own style. This one, I saw it very closely. It's very dry brush. You can see big, very dry brush approach, but I was quite impressed with this one. And this one, you see another position. The bird, each movement changes the position. So that's why it is so difficult. So this is actually this way. Yeah. See that? Looking downwards. And this is a famous artist, Padashanen's bird. Some of the other bird is more clearer. Some of his bird is very sad looking and reflecting his time and his situation. So developing your own style is whole another world. Okay, so so I'll just show you some basic technique how to approach the bird stroke. Okay, so here we are. The bird painting it's better generally a little smaller brush. So I'm going to start with this sparrow color, kind of burn sienna first, a little bit like that. And then I'm going to go tiny bit of dark tone in a tip. Okay, so I have to have some kind of, see, does it? First thing you need to have is this one. So your loading has to be correct first. Okay, so you need to have this thing first. You see, here, you see the tone. So this is his head. So you can add a little more. See that you have this bird. I'm just going to give you some very simple technique. So this thing here, this has a head, and then you go, and then you have upper body here, like that. And then you have, this is a little bit too dark. You can go a little bit, add a little more of this, that's okay. So loading is, it's the tricky part also. So you have to get used to it. And you have to start the whole thing light first, okay? Start over again. So whole brush is lightly loaded first. A little bit too dark there. So light here. So first my brush is like that, okay? And then I'm going to add a little more thicker. Okay. And then I'm adding tiny dark tone in the tip. And then you're blending it. So take it out. So you need to have this strokes here, this. And then upper body like that. And then this is, okay. So roughly that's so. And then I'm adding tiny dark, further darker tone in the tip. And then you add here, beak, sparrow beak is very short. And then eye here. And then you need, you see these wings, there are several wings there. So, you know, if you study closely, you can see this kind of wings. Wings stroke is, you see, has to be exact. It has to be very dry. This is, you see, wing is like that. And then the tail goes like that. Tail, you can do it this way as well as this way. So you can do either way, either way. It has to be, stroke has to be dry. See, especially that artist, he did very dry strokes. You can see here. We start with a beak. And then eye there. Beak is very short. And then this is wings. You see stroke? This is, and then this is a tail. See that? It has to be exact. See? And then you go, then you add a little water your brush. And then you add this, this here. And then you add your tummy of the bird. See that? The tummy, winter bird is obviously tummy is bigger. So that's, you get there. Here we are. And then the feet. Feet is a whole another thing. Bird is, the feet position is really important. You see that this alone, you know, the bird position changes. You know, the feet position changes, but that's a really tricky thing. You see, if you look closely here, yeah, this is how the bird feet look like. So it has to be really dry brush. So then you go here, you come first here. And then this thing is easier if you do outside to inside. You see here. And then you have here. And then you have another one here. And then you do the little nail, you know, nail expression. So outside, inside, they say. Outside, inside, outside, inside. So feet is important. This is a tiny bird. By the way, this sparrow has this kind of, you know, dots in his body. He has a little flake like that. So here. And then the feet is slightly lighter tone usually. One, outside, inside. And then you do the nail like this. They will show another one there. Outside to inside. So that's the, have a little bit. So that's a sparrow, but then you have to study of all different direction of the different position of the bird. That's the whole another word, okay? So you have, so this is, for example, the example of different position study, okay? So you can see, but the best thing I recommend if you want to really be good at bird, have a very close-up photograph and good photograph, including the feet, you see? So that's the best way to really figuring out what's going on, so detailed. And very often you need to start here first, and then this branch, and then you are the detail of the feet. So this kind of close-up, so each one is such a different position. So then, see, this one is whole another position altogether. So if you want to do several, you know, then you have this kind of detail. So this particular artist here, I'm just trying to show you this style, okay? Because he approached very dry brush. His name is Chiang Shengmo. This is, I think it's, so you see the dry brush, how he captured it? Look at how detailed. I mean, this is close-up photo, so let's try this one, okay? I'm going to show you his style. So, I mean, some people start big, some people start with eyes, some people start with the body. So it's totally up to you how you want that, okay? So let's try his dry brush technique, okay? I'm just going to show you. So your brush has to be really dry. So you have to take off enough as much as possible, okay? And then go. You have to get the right tone, and it takes a long time to figure that out. Okay, so now a dry brush technique, okay? So you start with a bee. It has to be so precise. If you make one mistake, you have to start over again. So here we are. I is here. Okay, so then really dry brush, okay? Take off as much as possible. You need to go really dry brush, so it just can go. You can have dry brush, more texture oriented, this kind of texture. Sometimes the split brush is good, like this. It has a little split there. See that? This is his make it a little less split. Dry brush. It's kind of texture oriented. You see the dry brush, how you can, your brush has to be really dry. So if your brush is a split like this, means you don't have enough water. You know, if you want to precise stroke, you need to go back and retouch you're adding more water, okay? So and then you add a little more tone. So you can see here, this wings here. This, my brush is still too wet. See, you have to go, if you want a more dry brush approach, you have to go really, see that this is the wings. See, that has to be so precise. And then tail. Tail you can do from outside to inside or inside outside. I find it outside is easier this way. So you bring this one this way. You really bring it this way. And then another thing is, if you don't want it too sharp in the beginning, you have to reverse it and then come. It's like a, yeah, calligraphy. Yeah, you have to reverse it and come this way. Then here you have dry brush. So you have to split it a little bit like texture brush. And then you add more wetness and then figuring out, okay, let's see. Then you want to go, you don't want to go too wet in here. Now the little yeah, the tail can be a little bit longer, never mind. So anyhow, outside to inside or inside outside, you can do either way. So outside, inside, inside, outside. So this stroke has to be precise. This tail here, or outside, inside. You have to practice this a lot. So yeah, dry brush more, dry. This texture brush, see that? Those are, you need a lot of practice like this. It has to be precise. This is the wing stroke, you see? This kind of textures you need. And then the feet is a whole another, yeah. So you can also do feet. If you are not confident in, one simple stroke, this is one way to do it. You can do very gentle, like this kind of two-line study first. Yeah. And then you eventually you feel more confident with let's see, you can go like that. Maybe you can do it this way. And then you add this nail afterwards. Nail is this way. Yeah. And then you can add colors. So this is another way to do it. You can do feet like that, or you can do it that way. And then you can always color it if you want to color it. So that's the. So another one. Yeah, I use a smaller brush is good. Because, yeah. And then you can color it. Okay, color this one. Okay, and then you do the, I mean, you can do the theoretically nail afterwards, but then you attach here. Okay. So then you are, so you need to do the bird first, and without the leg, sometimes it's okay. You do afterwards. Then you can add whatever you want to add there. So anyhow, so that's a general idea. We got 10 minutes. So I'm going to also show you some other position because, for example, look at, I have some, this kind of detailed study, you need to do it first, the structure study. It's a really detailed, so because every little stroke, it matters, not like a landscape, you can get away a lot. But let me show you. I know, and then having said that, this is a very dry brush. Then this is another artist who lives in California. He does totally different style. Look at his style. He hardly has a line. He uses more wider. This is his sparrow. See that how everyone paints so differently? Yeah. So here we are. It's a Ningni's work. Okay. Just want to show you some other position. Yeah, this kind of flying bird it's even harder. Look at how this feet, you know, the feet has, see this kind of, look at how feet and all the different wings. This is harder one, okay? You can see, but anyway, any questions so far?
I have a question. Do you think that practicing character calligraphy is sort of a prerequisite to brush painting or something?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, brush painting can help calligraphy, but usually I think the Asians, they do calligraphy first, and then you know how to handle the brush, it's much easier. But for Westerner, I mean, you know, theoretically, it helps to both, you know, if you did the brush painting first, and then you can do calligraphy, you know, faster too. But definitely, I would, if I'm, you know, total beginner, I would do the calligraphy first.
Okay, thank you.
This is Karen. I have a question. Oops, sorry.
I just want to show you some of this kind of my practices here. So you can see different structure studies, different position, and very detailed in the beginning. And then, you know, you have to, you know, if you want to develop your own style, yeah, then you can, you know, of the bird. I think sometimes if you develop it, okay, I'll show you some examples. This artist here, he does very simple, you know, I think this, look at this artist, he's making it up his own bird. You see that people do all kinds of stuff. See the bird? So you have to have a certain nature study first in order to make your own style. It takes really time. I mean, this looks a little bit cartoonish looking, but.
So may I ask you a question?
Yes.
So does it matter if the birds are facing each other or facing to the right or to the left?
No, in terms of composition, no, you can do so many different ways. I mean, there is a, you know, I mean, the composition is totally up to you, how you want. You know?
And is it the number of birds matter too? Because sometimes they say odd numbers or.
I'll show you some examples, okay? So here's I have this magpie. This is a famous Chinese artist, Zhu Beihong's magpie bird painting. You see, you can do one, you can do two, You can do 3, you can do 4, you can do 4 here, and then there's how many are there? There's 6 of them. So you can do whatever you want. I mean, these are Willow. This is famous artist who does famous horse painting, but he does beautiful magpie. See that depending on the composition, the subject, what you want to paint. It's
I'm sorry, what's the artist name again?
Huh?
What's the
Zhu Beihong, maybe I pronounce it correctly. I don't know. Zhu Beihong he started the Central Academy in Beijing.
Okay, thank you.
He studied in Paris and then he came back to China and he began Central Academy, so far as I know. Yeah.
Oh, 谢谢.
Hello.
He's
Could
wearing
could I ask you a question regarding last month's the color palette you used? Was it the Chinese paint or some other paint? Because I noticed your palette had different colors on it, like an English paint.
I can show you. This is very inexpensive tube, but this color it's very nice. Only thing is I find it more convenient like this. This is a Japanese color, but so it's easier for me to, I can carry it anywhere and I don't need a separate palette. Otherwise you need this kind of little container to mixing it, or you can use this kind of
there was another one you used. There was another one. I took a quick photo. I'll show you. I took a quick, I don't know whether you can see it, but it looks like Western paint.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it does exist like that. This is
so I was thinking of mounting. I mean, if you use that, would you mount it would you mount is that Shuan paper you're using?
Yes. Asian watercolor has more gum in it, so that's why it's easier to mount. That's why people prefer Asian watercolor. It's less bleeding when you mount it.
Okay, so the last one you have just shown, is that Western paint? The last one you just shown?
This one is Oriental Art Supply, the California store.
Okay. So it's Chinese paint. So it's Chinese paint then, if that's the case. Is that right?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay. It's interesting.
They're very inexpensive, more kind of convenience. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it looks like Western paint. Thank you.
No problem.
It's very interesting. Yeah, the way you paint, I must say. I've enjoyed every bit of it last month and this month. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. No, bird takes time to practice, but don't give up. It's such a beautiful, once you add bird in painting, it really makes the whole painting more, storytelling, and it really gives you a centerpiece of, center element. So, I am determined I want to be good at bird, but still, I'm on the process myself. Yeah.
But your birds, they are interesting. They're good, I must say. Yeah, I mean, you're very humble. When I saw your bird, and then you kept saying, it's not so easy. Thank you.
I'm trying, but anyhow, I know I really feel it's bird painting. I appreciate the master of bird painters. Because very often in the beginning, when I studied brush painting, I was avoiding details. I like the very abstract stuff, very landscape, you can always cover it, your mistake, but the bird, you can't get away with it.
Speaking of that, could you show us how you turn it into a rock if you didn't like the bird?
Oh, okay.
So that we can cover up our mistakes too?
I cover up all the time. Okay. So basically I cover it up like this. Okay. So I mean, these are a huge one, but I have to go with darker tone. So I'm covering up this way, okay? And then I can always practice another bird on top. you know, I turn it. No, this became a darker now. Okay, but in order to cover it, I have to do it that way.
Thank you very much. You are amazing.
What?
That's amazing. That, you know.
Anyhow, this is, you know, brush painters very often, and you have to turn it something else, what you have, and then you work it out, you know, try to finish it, whatever you can, the best out of it, you know. So anyhow, so it's hidden now. Very often I turn in my insect rocks or something else, basically. All right.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Sang-Suk, well, for showing us the amazing art itself and also the process. It's just so wonderful to get an inside look of how the art will come together.
All right.
Yeah, and
All
really
right.
appreciate. Yeah.
All the best. Okay.
And for those of you who really want to dive into brush painting, Sang-Suk does wonderful brush painting classes online at China Institute. So you may want to find more information from our website. And the spring semester is starting next week, right, Sang-Suk? So there will
love to have you. Okay.
Right. And I thank you again so much.
Right. No problem. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay, bye.
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 So for our lunch and learn, well, we have May, the next and the last session. Just to, you make sure you sign up. Also, as Sang-Suk mentioned, well, 八大山人, that's the centerpiece of the gallery exhibition. We may look into that piece a little bit more. And 八大山人 does a lot of birds and animals and with very interesting characteristics. We can look into that as well. 好的, so that's it for today's lunch and learn. 谢谢大家.